welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've posted a recipe video, but as seen from the thumbnail, we're making meat pies. This recipe is easy and straightforward, so if you would like to try it out, definitely do. Right now I'm preparing the flour, the baking powder, which I believe I added a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and preparing down the butter. And next I'm preparing the vegetables for the meat pie. So in making meat pie, you need your meat, grounded beef, you need your carrots, your potatoes, your onions, garlic if you would like garlic, and some seasoning ingredients. For this recipe I'm using the simplest things, so you might feel, oh, I don't have a lot of seasonings or things to make my meat pie. It's very easy and straightforward. For this video and this recipe I used thyme and pepper and salt. Simple. But if you would like to add more, like curry, or some use Maggi, you can definitely do that. So I've just diced up my onions, and next I'm going to be peeling my potatoes and dicing them into small cubes. Some prefer their potatoes to be chunky, while some prefer their potatoes to be thinly and diced in small portions. So you can dice yours as you feel comfortable with or okay with. So right here, after dicing, I'm just rinsing off the potato for any excess starch after cutting up the potatoes. So as said prior, I'm using garlic to add extra flavor to the meat. But if you would not like to use garlic, if you're allergic to garlic, you can definitely remove that and add whatever vegetable you like. Up next, I'm breaking an egg and beating that neatly this is in preparation for the dough. I'll explain this later on. Now we're going to set that aside and clean the counter we're working on. One thing when making the meat pie, you have to make sure that you're working on a clean surface at all times, because at some point in the video I'm going to be working on the counter with my dough, so the counter always has to be cleaned. Right here we're going to be boiling the potatoes, we want to make sure that they are cooked and soft. And then we'll move on to our dough for the meat pie. Now for the meat pie, it depends on how much you want to make. For this portion, I believe I used 2.5 cups of flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I'm just mixing that into the flour. Up next, I'm adding the butter into the flour mixture. The butter is still solid, so it's cold. It's best for the butter and even the water you're going to use to mix up the dough to be cold, because after when you've kneaded the dough, it keeps the dough cold, and once you bake it, it gives the meat pie a soft and crispy surface. Up there I'm showing you this after mixing the butter in. There are no clumps of butter, all smooth. Now we add the water in small portions to mix into the dough. Again, make sure that you're always working on a clean counter surface. And kneading will take and consume a lot of energy, so just mix as much as you can until it is a full complete dough. And then once you're done mixing, you want to flour, or you could use a chopping board also, or cotton board. But since I'm using a counter surface, I'm just spreading flour on the surface and cutting out a portion of the whole dough, so that I'm able to knead that portion and roll it out into a flatter surface. So you need to have a smooth dough, then you roll your dough out. And this process might take some time, but it's most definitely worth it. But if you do have an equipment that can help flatten your dough faster, you can definitely use that too. So our potato is cooked and ready. Now we're adding some oil to fry out our onions and garlic, and we're stirring that in, making sure that it's properly browned, not over browned, just properly. And then we add in our ground beef, mixing that all in. And once it has cooked a little bit, we're adding our seasoning, some salt, pepper, and thyme. And you could also use chicken broth to add into the beef, to cook the beef too. That adds extra flavor for the beef sauce. Next, we've added our carrots and our potatoes, mixing all that in. And right now you want to prepare a little batter with flour and water a light mixture and you add into this beef. The purpose of this is to thicken up the beef, to make sure that the beef and all the vegetables plus the potatoes are stuck together, so they're not separately all around. This also adds moisture. Once you've baked it, your beef mixture isn't dry, but it's moist. Keeps that moisture in. Now we're going to prep our oven to make sure it's preheated. I'm preheating at 180 degrees. So we'll leave the beef to cook a little bit, and once it's done, then you switch that off and we're back to our dough. So right here I'm showing you the thinness of the dough. So it's not supposed to be extra thin, but just thick enough so that when it cooks, the filling of the beef doesn't burst and spill out. So the dough is thick enough, but not too thick, neither is it too thin. And if you have a large cookie cutter or a normal sized or wide enough bowl, you can use that to form circles in your dough and cut that out. Now that egg that we prepared before, we're going to just spread it on one part, half part of the circle you've just cut out. The purpose of this is when closing this dough after adding your filling, it gives that tacky surface so that both parts and sides of the dough sticks properly to it. And this also the egg is also to glaze the dough, to keep the dough from drying out and looking dry after you've baked it. So you add enough filling, not too much, so the filling doesn't spill out of the dough once you've closed it. So as seen, this is a very quick and easy recipe, very easy recipe. So now we're just using a fork to press down the sides of the dough. And we're going to also need to poke some holes on the top surface of the meat pie. The purpose of poking holes in the surface of the meat pie, as observed here, is to, once there's going to be steam built up within the pie itself. So this is to give that space for the steam to come out. Now we're glazing the dough, keeping the surface of the dough moist even when baked. And now it's time for baking. We've reduced the heat before placing the pies in the oven, and after we're going to increase the heat. So to the timing for the meat pies, you have to keep them in until the pies are golden brown. Once the pies are golden brown, they are set and they are ready. So you could take them out once they're golden brown. So you bake till golden brown. And voila! Delicious meat pies set and ready. You can easily eat this for a snack, for lunch, you're going on a picnic. Very versatile. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have recommendations of recipes you'd like to try, definitely write that down in the comments. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.